Hi, welcome to Intentionally Waiting, Season 1, Episode 4. So, how has my week been? Okay, where do I start from? There's a lot to cover, a lot to talk about. Yeah. But first, I'll talk about last week because last week I told you I was going on a meetup and I had some apprehension about the meetup. I had a little bit of anxiety about it and what that would bring. But I am actually pleased to report that the meetup went really well. I think that sometimes the things unexpected turn out to go really well, and that was the case for me. I enjoyed my time. I enjoyed the communication. I enjoyed the talk. I actually even enjoyed the actual event itself. So that was a tick in the box. Definitely a tick in the box. It also helped me to see how I could fit into, the other person's joy, the things that were really important to them, how it could have been feasible if I had decided that, or, if it turned out that this was going to be my life partner. But the reason why this is kind of a little bit more of a somber week is because there was just so much that went on. So much that went on emotionally, some things that I had to unravel, most of which I kind of didn't really understand. I didn't know why I was feeling a certain way until actually yesterday. Yes, until yesterday. So I'm going to tell you about that. So basically, sometimes you think that the issue is with somebody else. Sometimes you think that the concerns that you have is about the way the other person is reacting towards you. When in actual truth, it's you repelling you. And I'll just take you through what I mean. After the meetup that I had last week, I was quite deflated. And the reason why I was quite deflated was because I had pumped it up to be something that it wasn't, even though, I'm going on, I'm saying it's a meetup and you don't need to have, don't invest your emotions in it. It's very difficult to do that. And, I'm coming and I'm being totally transparent because, I say things which in theory sounds right. And I believe they are right, but in practice it's difficult to do. So, when I say, go on a meetup and, don't engage your emotions, sometimes your emotions are engaged because you're thinking that possibly this could be it. And, that was what I thought about the meetup that I went on last week. And after the meetup, I realized that actually it wasn't it. And I was so deflated. And I was deflated because, I was just, in a way, trying to rush the whole process. I just want to get to the end line. I don't want to go through the journey. For me, it's not about the journey. It's about the end line. And that was that was why I felt the way I felt. But on the flip side, for the other person, they were actually really really attracted to me. They wanted to move it forward. So much so that, every single day I'd get messages. How are you doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, which is all great. And then it's okay, let's go for another meetup and things like that. And I was getting lots and lots of that, which ordinarily is good. So I didn't understand why I was feeling the way I felt. Was it because, I thought that this person wasn't it and I thought it was a waste of time? Or was it something different? And I couldn't quite figure out what it was. I did put it down to maybe it's because, the person's not for me. So it's like the person's just bombarding me, pestering me, that kind of a thing. And I've got lots of things to do. I've got lots of stuff on my agenda. I've only got certain periods that are allocated towards meetups. And I'm now spending a lot more time on this particular person when I could be doing other things. And that was my thought process. And it wasn't until I went on it's a Bible study that I have with a group of ladies, and I really call them my accountability partners. And I want to just say to you that if you don't have an accountability partner or partners or people whilst you're in this waiting season, you really need to get one, because they kind of like help you to unpack things that you could not unpack yourself. They kind of like help you to see the things that you possibly may not have seen in your own steam. And this is exactly what happened with me, because I was explaining the situation to them, how I felt about the whole scenario, how I felt about the way the person was coming across. That I felt, and what I said to them is that I felt overwhelmed. Those are my exact terms. I felt overwhelmed. And I remember one of the ladies just sat back and she just says, I think he's being impatient. Like, he's trying to rush things. He's trying to get to the finish line. And that's when I actually realised that that was what I was trying to do as well. And I don't know whether you recall, but in one of the episodes I was talking about, the person that you are with is generally a reflection of you. And this is the situation here. So he was just being himself. And what had happened was that he was a reflection of me. And what I was seeing that was agitating me was literally what was in me. So then the question is, why was it agitating me? If this is something that I have, or this is something that I do, why is it that when somebody is doing that very same thing back to me, why do I feel agitated? And it then dawned on me that, and you know what, I want you to go with me, because this might be a little bit controversial, and you may think, okay, Clara, you've kind of lost it on this one, and that's perfectly fine. Like, I totally accept any of your comments. If you think that what I'm saying is totally way off, I'd like to hear it. If you think that, yeah, actually, this is bang on, this is in line with your thoughts, or it's suddenly giving you an aha moment, I'd also like to hear your comments as well. So, because it's great for me to have an understanding for your comments, because I'm going on this journey. This is not rehearsed or anything like that. I'm just going on this journey and I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out how to get there without hitting too many stumbling blocks and without falling over and without getting to the wrong place. So, so that's where I'm at. So, like, your comments are totally welcome. But what I want to say here is that what I realized, or what I believe the situation is, and why I feel the way I feel, well, how I felt the way I felt, was because my ego was rising up in me. And my ego was rising up in me because it recognized something that I had. It recognized that it had created this front line of impatience. And the reason why it created this front line of impatience is because if you go behind the front line, there's fear. And what the ego is trying to do is stop me from being fearful. It's actually stopping me from actually finding out the truth. So it's got this front line of impatience. So when it recognizes that connection on another person, my ego feels like it's going to be found out. So what it does is it kind of rises up and tries to protect itself, because it doesn't want the fact that I'm being impatient to be found out. It doesn't actually want me to know that I'm being impatient. So it disguises it in different ways, and it comes out in different ways, and it reflects it onto the other person so that I can actually be mad, upset, angry, whatever it is about the other person, and therefore keeping me safe. When in actual truth, I'm not safe, because in order for me to meet somebody that is patient, I've got to be patient. And if I don't recognize that I am impatient, then I'm just going to keep attracting people that are impatient. And I think up until now, that's what I've been attracting, but not realizing that that's what I've been attracting. So, and the reason is because they come in different ways. They come in different guises, and it's very subtle. Sometimes it's really subtle, so you don't see it. And when it's really subtle, it's kind of like, oh, okay, you know, you think it's a nice thing. You think, oh, that's really nice. You know, somebody just goes out and you stop at, I don't know, a petrol station, they jump out of the car, they put petrol in the car, and you're thinking, oh, they're actually being helpful. But in actual fact, it might not be that. It might just think that, it might be that they're thinking, well, if you do it, it's going to take you far too long to do it, so they might as well do it because it's going to be quicker. And it's part of their impatience that's making them act in that way. So when I recognized that actually I was being impatient, something changed, something kind of like switched in me, because I was now aware of it. And when you're aware of something, you can deal with it, you know? So I was aware that I was being impatient. You know, I was being impatient in all these things, and that's the reason as to why I felt deflated after that meetup, because, you know, I just wanted it to go right. I just wanted it to be the person. I was literally being impatient. I was literally not willing to kind of like wait. I wanted it to happen today, and when it didn't happen, it impacted me. So in me realizing that I have impatience in me, and in me realizing that I actually want somebody in my life that is patient, I realized that I gotta be patient as well. And that means I got some work to do. So in order for me to move forward, I've almost got to take a step backwards, which is not what I bargained for when I started this. I just thought, you know, I'll be moving forward. But remember when I said to you that it's important to get the foundation right? And I truly believe that it's important to get the foundation right, because when you get the foundation right, then you're able to move forward properly. And if I don't get my foundation right, then I'm just going to hit issues. I'm just going to start to settle for things that are, you know, just okay. I'm not going to get to the position that I need to be at. So as part of my, you know, my meetup group, we are going through a program, which is an 8-week program. We've already done 2 weeks, and it's called The Keys to Freedom. I'll show you the book. It's got a nice book. I don't know if you can see that. That's the book. We're going through this book, and it's going on 8 weeks. So we've done 2 weeks now. It's created by, the course itself is created by mercyuk.org. You can obviously go to their website, www.mercyuk.org. And it's like just packed with, you know, lots and lots of different teachings on a day-to-day basis. But what it does do is it kind of like gets down to the core of your behaviors. And it kind of like attaches your behaviors to your beliefs. And if your belief system is impacted or has been skewered or has been, you know, disconnected in one way, then the outward play of that will also be impacted. So when I go back to impatience, you know, the Bible tells us that one of the fruits of the Spirit is patience. And I think that's an important fruit to have. They're all important, but it's important because when you're impatient, you can make the wrong decisions. And I believe that for me, one of the reasons why I am impatient, and the reason as to why, you know, my ego has created this barrier to kind of like hide the fear that I have in me, is because I almost don't want to, you know, how can I put it? It's kind of like a fear of not being good enough. I think that's probably the best way to put it. It's a fear of not being good enough in all different things, in your walk of life, in your career, in relationships with people. And, you know, and therefore you just don't want to go through the, you don't want to go through the different stages. So you just kind of like want to fast track it right through to the end, because within those stages, you've got this fear that, you know, there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be like things that are not in your control, and or just even just the fear of being found out, that you're not good enough, those kind of fears. So impatience for me got created, and but when you are patient with everything, it really doesn't matter, because you're able to just take one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. Go through everything one step at a time. It doesn't really matter what the outcome of each step is, because when you get to that step, you just deal with it. Then you take another step and you deal with it, and you then take another step and you deal with it. When you are running a life of just constantly on the go, then you're not focusing on those little steps. You're not taking those steps, and you're not dealing with the situations that are happening in those steps you're taking. And I think that that's something that I need to have, and that's something that I want to have in my family. I want us to be a patient family, and if I want patience in my life, then I've got to be patient myself, so that when the next person comes in, that person will also be patient. Because remember, when you work on yourself, and you start to move through the levels, then you start to attract people that are also on those levels as well. So I'm taking an 8-week break from some of the things that I'm actively pursuing. So for instance, I am on the dating site, so I'm going to take not an 8 week, it's 6 weeks now. 6-week break from the dating site, so that I can truly focus on this program. I'm still going to be showing up for me and for you every single week, so I can take you through my journey as to how I'm going and the outcome of that. But I just want to encourage you in the sense of, just because you're going on a specific track, it doesn't mean that you can't take a break, pause, reflect, and make changes in your life, because sometimes it is needed. And I think the more you can take those breaks and actually reflect and determine whether you need to put pause on something, whether you need to work on yourself a little bit more, that the more you can do that, the more accurate you're going to be about the actual life partner and the situation that you want into your life. Because, like, for instance, my list did not even have patience on it. And it did not have patience. It has it on now, but it didn't have it then. And the reason why it didn't have it is because, I hadn't actually recognized what that was. I hadn't recognized what it was to be impatient. Because if I had recognized what it was to be impatient, I would have had on my list, I want my partner to be patient. So sometimes, when you are going through this and you recognize something, especially if you're going on a meetup, and I want you to try this. If you're going on a meetup and somebody's doing something that is totally irritating you, absolutely irritating you. Say, for example, you're thinking, oh, this person is just so controlling. They've taken over the conversation, so on and so forth. And if you're leveling up inside and you're thinking and it's getting you all tied up in knots and things like that, I bet you are that person, but you just don't realize that you are that person. So I would say to you, just go back and reflect on yourself, and just ask yourself that same question that you're concerned about somebody else. Just ask yourself, do I have control issues in me? Am I a controlling person? And then you'll start to see the answers coming. You'll start to hear the times when that has happened, when you've been that person. And then once you're aware of it, you can tackle it. I tell you, your ego is a big thing. It's trying to stop so many things, just because it's trying to protect that little person. For me, it's that little girl that's in me. It's trying to protect you, but it's not doing you any favors, because it's not helping you to get to the positions that you actually want to be in. So that's me for this week. That's what I've been on. That's my journey. I think that it's important for me to be able to, to take that break. And to be fair, I hadn't come to this conclusion easily. When I was actually told by my accountability partners, I was punching. I really was. I was punching. I was like, nope, 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 nope. I was totally deflecting everything. I was kind of like, trying to stand my ground. But all of that was my ego. All of that was my ego saying, you know what, you're getting too close. You're getting too close. I don't want to be found out. I don't want you to know that you are impatient, because once you realize that you're impatient, you become aware of it, and once you're aware of something, you can change it. And that's where I'm at. So I'm on the journey to change that and to become a different person, so that by the end of the 6 weeks, I believe I'm going to be truly transformed into someone else, essentially, and then I can continue the journey, but from a different position. So that's it for today. And before I go, as I always do, what am I going to call today's podcast? Let me see. Okay, so let me see. What am I going to call it? I'm going to call it intentionally patient. Intentionally patient. How to be intentionally patient. Okay, guys, that's it for now. You take care and speak to you soon. Bye-bye.